Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
What's going on, guys? You're listening to the Gsmc Basketball Podcast. I'm your host on Mondays and on Thursdays, Casey Foreman. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode here at GSMC of the week. Thank you for tuning in. A whole lot to break down and discuss. In the world of basketball, Friday started or tipped off the NBA's free agency period where players are allowed to leave their team, sign on whatever team they so please. So that has been going on. We've seen a whole lot of movement go on since Friday. I do want to highlight basically two teams today. So I want to start out with obviously the team that has been making the most moves, the biggest moves in this year's free agency, and that is the Los Angeles Lakers, our reigning champs. Yes, they are staying busy, and they're quite frankly looking like title favorites once again. So that's the first team I want to discuss with all the moves they've made, you know, acquiring Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, the big surprise there. So don't want to give away everything, but yeah, the Lakers as well as the Golden State Warriors. Obviously a team after the injury to Klay Thompson, a lot of question marks revolving that roster, revolving that franchise right now. They were rebuilding over this past year with the injuries to Klay and Steph, Kevin Durant leaving, so they were, you know, kind of rebuilding this past year their roster. Now everything seems good and dandy. You know, everyone was healthy. Boom, then the injury to Klay Thompson. So what does this Golden State roster, this team look like next season? What should the expectations be for the Warriors next year? That is what I want to discuss, as well as what the roster is looking like right now, what they can do as well going forward. And then at the end of the podcast, let's continue discussing the NBA's off season. Again, since it kicked off on Friday, let's discuss the NBA's free agency. So much has gone on. Let's discuss some moves by the Charlotte Hornets, by the Blazers, by the Hawks, by the Clippers, by the Heat. You know, a whole lot to break down and discuss. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get right to it today. Los Angeles is making moves and looking like title favorites once again. Again, they are the reigning champs, but they are staying busy in this year's free agency. You know, and we knew going into this year, this off season, that this roster, if they did want to compete next year, they had to update and make some tweaks here and there. And they've done more than just make tweaks. They've made moves for this roster, and I thought, you know, the first move they made, I thought that was going to be one of the only big changes to the roster we saw. I was wrong, but I thought the Dennis Schroeder move was really good, and that kind of put them over the top. However, like I said, that was not the only move the Lakers have made. They now have the sixth man, the reigning sixth man of the year. I thought Dennis Schroeder, you know, was deserving of it, but they now have both leading candidates up for the award last year. They now have Dennis Schroeder as well as Montrezl Harrell. They steal the sixth man of the year from the Los Angeles Clippers, and when I say no one, I mean no one saw that coming. No one predicted this. We predicted maybe him staying with the Clippers or then going elsewhere for a larger payday. He does neither of those two things. He takes less money than what he would have gotten anywhere else, purely because he wants to play for championships. He wants to play for the team he was competing with last season. So the Lakers, they steal the sixth man of the year from the Clippers. No one saw that coming. He is a Clutch Sports client, so he is signed with Clutch Sports, which we know LeBron's friend, Rich Paul runs that and is the agent and everything like that. So they share the same agent. It's not the craziest thing seeing this, but it is pretty insane to think that he leaves the one team in Los Angeles for the other team after all the beef and the rivalry that was between those two rosters all year long, them coming up short. It seems like he didn't want to go at it, obviously. Didn't want to go for it again with that roster. People were fed up with the whole mentality of that team. He moves on to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers are also signing champion Marc Gasol, the other Gasol brother, right? They won a championship, multiple with one Gasol brother. Let's try to do it. Their thinking is, let's try to do it with another one. LA signs Marc Gasol to a 2-year deal. Big move for them. I think he's a veteran center, can stretch the floor, knock down an outside jumper, also can be a defensive anchor in the post when Anthony Davis isn't necessarily on it, which isn't necessarily always happening. It seems like he's always got it going on the defensive side. Should have won the Defensive Player of the Year last year, but they add another two-way player in Marc Gasol, also a two-way player in Montrezl Harrell. So I love these moves by the Lakers. I thought I was kind of hoping for Golden State to sign Marc Gasol. I thought he fit very well, and he would have a much larger role there. They have a rookie center. He would kind of be the mentoring role. But, it seems like he wants to go win a championship. I don't blame him. The Lakers are stacking up their pieces here. They also signed a three-point sniper, Wesley Matthews. They also got Dennis Schroeder, who can shoot the long ball, but Wesley Matthews has never shot below 36% from the three-point line in his entire career. Is also a two-way player, can get it done on the defensive end at this point in his career. Definitely an upgrade from the two-way player in Danny Green. So I think he's a clear upgrade in that sense. So Wesley Matthews, a three-point sniper, also signed not a 2-year deal, but a 1-year deal, a minimum deal, I should say. So very good for Los Angeles that they're saving a bunch of money from Danny Green. They have Schroeder in that role, and then it's an upgrade from Green to Wesley Matthews. So I love everything they're doing here. They have lost some players, though. It hasn't just been them adding players to the roster they already have, in place. No, there have been players leaving, just as players have been arriving. Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, Avery Bradley, all 4 of those players are headed elsewhere. Rondo to the Hawks, Dwight to the Sixers, McGee to the Cavs. I bet we'll see him going elsewhere. And then Avery Bradley signs with the Miami Heat. So the Heat steal away Bradley, a two-way player. But overall, I think from what they've added to what they've lost, the Lakers are looking even better than last year, much, much better than last year, so that they've replaced Rondo, Dwight, McGee, and Bradley. Okay, they replaced those 4 players with Montrezl Harrell, Wesley Matthews, Marc Gasol, and Dennis Schroeder. So they lose those 4 and add those 4 caliber players. So a clear upgrade at basically every position. Rondo to Schroeder, that's a clear upgrade. Dwight to Marc Gasol, that's a clear upgrade. McGee to Montrezl Harrell, that's a clear upgrade. And then who else? Rondo or someone else? Bradley to Wesley Matthews. Again, that's a toss-up there. Both players are very good, but so I think that's an upgrade. Maybe you can put Green also. They lost Danny Green as well. So either way, I think it's a clear upgrade at basically every position for Los Angeles. I think the biggest player that they will miss, the biggest hole, will be coming from Avery Bradley, the two-way player. But, they proved in the Orlando bubble and in the playoffs this year, they don't necessarily, last year they needed him more than they do this year with the roster they have constructed. And they proved they didn't necessarily need his talents to win a championship. So, again, he might be the biggest. I think Rondo, because of what we saw in the playoffs, arguably, I should say, he should be the biggest, probably should be the biggest hole, not Bradley, just because I was thinking him because we did it on the defensive end as well as the offensive end. But Rondo, with what he did in the playoffs last year, he probably is going to be the biggest hole. But again, overall, Dennis Schroeder, a much younger player, can score the ball at a much higher rate, can shoot the ball much better. Montrezl Harrell being much better than Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, Marc Gasol also. So clear upgrades, basically. So now, now the biggest question is, what does this mean for the Los Angeles Lakers? What does this mean for this roster? They just won the championship, and now their roster is even better than before. They just won a title, and now they have an even better roster, clear upgrades at multiple positions. What does this mean for the Los Angeles Lakers? I'm not sure. Okay, if there's a roster close to Los Angeles, again, Philly is very good on paper, I know. They added shooters, I know as well. Brooklyn with KD and Kyrie, LeVert, Dinwiddie and stuff, I know is a very capable roster as well. But looking at every team up and down, okay, which lineup, in your opinion, is better? Are these two? Kevin Durant, so Kyrie Irving, Karis LeVert, Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, and then you got DeAndre Jordan or Jared Allen at the center position, and then Spencer Dinwiddie coming off the bench. So that lineup, okay, or LeBron James, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Wesley Matthews, Anthony Davis, Marc Gasol, with Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell coming off the bench. Which do you think is better? I think it is a toss-up. Both are very close. Both have the two superstars. Okay, both have the two superstars. But then the Lakers, I gotta give the edge to the Lakers supporting cast. Dennis Schroeder, the 18-pointer a night guy. Marc Gasol, veteran center. Montrezl Harrell, also an 18-pointer a night guy, six man of the year award. So if these players can keep up at the rate they've been playing, I like the Lakers lineup in comparison to basically any other. And again, Philly is very deep. Brooklyn, obviously, very deep. But this roster in Los Angeles is going to be tough to beat. The road to the championship definitely is going to go through the Lakers. And Rob Pelinka, in my opinion, deserves some credit, man. He deserves some respect for a lot of these signings. I think most of these pieces will seemingly fit great to this roster. So I love basically every move so far. The Marc Gasol move, Wesley Matthews move, Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, the big surprise there. So I love every move so far from the Lakers. And again, I can say this again, nobody saw the Montrezl Harrell signing coming. Nobody thought it was even possible. Who thought he would leave the one team in Los Angeles for the other team in Los Angeles, especially because of the feud, the rivalry going down? Again, does this have to do with him? It comes down to he would rather play with LeBron James and Anthony Davis in comparison to Kawhi and Paul George. I guess the whole game plan, the whole vibe of that roster, I guess he was more attracted to what they had going in the Laker roster, or organization. I can't blame him. It seems they seem to be more focused on the Lakers side, seem to be having more fun as well, not so much of the enemy of the league, either. So it seems like a better situation. Montrezl can come in, add to the depth of this team. It seems like LeBron James is getting somewhat, I don't want to go overboard here, okay, but still, the Bulls, right? The Michael and his Bulls. It was Michael and Pippen, and then the very good supporting cast they had going alongside them. And now, I don't want to compare this to those Bulls. Okay, obviously that Bull team, an all-time great team. This is not, I don't think it's an all-time great team, but still, one of the best teams, in my opinion, that LeBron has ever had. So you got AD, LeBron, and then after that, the guys KCP, Wesley Matthews, Dennis Schroeder, Marc Gasol, Montrezl Harrell. This is a deep team, okay? This is one of the best rosters LeBron has ever been on. They are still waiting for Anthony Davis to re-sign. We know we've heard it's just kind of clerical work, right? They're kind of waiting for the next week, figuring out all the details for the contract. Is it going to be a 2-year deal, a 1+1? Is it going to be a longer 4 or 5 year extension? He's still deciding on those two factors, but either way, seemingly expect Anthony Davis to be in Los Angeles for at least the next 2 years, 2 or more years for Anthony Davis in the Laker jersey. So expect that. That's the only thing we're kind of waiting on. Also, Kyle Kuzma, we're waiting on what they're deciding to do with Kyle Kuzma. Will he stay? Will he go? Where's the best fit for him? Either way, I'm going to take a quick break, guys, coming on, we will finish up talking about the Los Angeles Lakers and start discussing the Golden State Warriors. Don't go anywhere. I will be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the Gsmc Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's gsmcpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back, guys. Like I said before the break, let's continue on discussing the Los Angeles Lakers. With all the additions they've had so far, not too many questions that I have left, regarding this roster. However, one I do have is regarding Kyle Kuzma. They still have Kuzma on the roster. However, he seems to barely have a fit, barely have a place. Montrezl Harrell seemingly will take his role coming off the bench. Same thing with Dennis Schroeder, going to have a large role coming off the bench more than likely. They got Marc Gasol. They got Wesley Matthews. So where does he really fit on this roster? I really don't think there's a place left for him. I really think that the only thing left for Los Angeles, to do is to trade Kyle Kuzma. But, that leads to the question, where, will he end up? Where, who wants him ultimately, and what can they get for him in return? So watch out for that going forward. Who will land Kyle Kuzma? We've heard the Spurs possibly for a DeRozan trade. I don't really see that coming. I don't really see that being possible for the whole, with the whole salary cap being a thing. For fit as well, I don't think that makes sense. As far as fit goes, I like what they have so far. If anything, add another guard or so, another shooter, ball handler. That's the only thing really that Los Angeles needs going forward. So where will Kuzma end up, and what will they get in return? That's the biggest question that I have left for this Laker roster. Overall, though, what do you guys think? Do you think this is the deepest team that LeBron has ever been on? He, as far as crossing off all the boxes, he has the shooters, okay? He has KCP, bringing back one of his favorite shooters from last year. KCP, Wesley Matthews, bringing in another guy, and then Dennis Schroeder. So three very capable three-point shooters in KCP, Matthews, and Dennis Schroeder. And then as far as bigs, the size on the team, he's got Montrezl Harrell, now the sixth man of the year, Marc Gasol, and then obviously his co-star in Anthony Davis. So as far as what this roster has, again, they have pretty much every box checked. The only thing that they have left are small additions, maybe another guard, another maybe defensive piece, since there's a lot of offensive-minded players here, but overall, not a lot of things left to address. Only thing really, the Kuzma trade, get another guard or so. But do you guys think this is the deepest roster LeBron has ever been on? Also, remember this, notice this, both Montrezl Harrell and Marc Gasol both signed 2-year deals. KCP signed a 4-year deal, but both signed 2-year deals. LeBron already has 4 rings, right? So maybe they're all putting this plan together. They win another 2 in a row, perhaps in Los Angeles. Okay, another 2 in Los Angeles. So maybe LeBron's chances at winning 6 rings are getting better and better. Again, he's 2 championships away. He's got this roster seemingly for another 2 years or so, with Golden State and Klay Thompson going down. Again, they were my biggest threat to the Lakers overall. My favorite, not my favorite, but one of my teams I was looking out for to win it all next year. But with the injury to Klay Thompson, again, we compared the whole Brooklyn and LA rosters, if we compared them side by side, I'm giving the slight edge to LA. They also have some time playing together, which Brooklyn really doesn't with KD and Kyrie. So ultimately right now, LeBron's chances of getting 6 rings has never looked better. And again, with all of these additions, does this make Los Angeles the prohibited favorite? And what else is left for the Lakers to do, if anything? I think a Kyle Kuzma trade is needed. I don't think there's really room for him on the team. If you can get something in return, instead of wasting him away on the bench, I say that's the best route for the Lakers. But overall, I think they're looking pretty good, and I think their chances at going back to back are great at this point. But let's transition now and focus on the other team I said I wanted to take a look at during this episode, and that is the Golden State Warriors. The whole Golden State situation here, and man, it seems like the Warriors simply cannot catch a break. After a year of bad basketball, kind of rebuilding, a tanking here, you should say, due to the injury of Klay Thompson, the injury of Steph Curry, the departure of Kevin Durant. So after a bad year of basketball, they got the number 2 pick. Okay, they got who they wanted with the number 2 pick, seemingly in James Wiseman. Everyone was at full strength. Draymond, Steph, Klay. They got the rookie in Eric Paschall. They just got the number 2. They just got the rookie in James Wiseman as well. So everything was looking up for the Warriors, and then bam, on draft night we find out, boom, injury to All-Star Klay Thompson's lower right leg. Couldn't walk on the leg, put any pressure on that side of his body, on that side, on that leg. We knew right away as soon as I heard that, man, this is a big injury. Klay might be sidelined for a whole nother year, and that is exactly right. Klay will be missing consecutive seasons with a torn Achilles. Man, that is just awful for Klay Thompson. You got to feel terrible for him. He's been rehabbing so hard after playing at such a high, level over the past 5 years, being in the finals, 5 straight finals appearances, all the great performances we've seen from him, 60 points and 11 dribbles, the most 3-pointers ever made in an NBA game. So we've seen all of these things from Klay, and then he had to sit out an entire season, and now he has to sit out a consecutive back-to-back season. Okay, he will miss consecutive 2 seasons, first with an ACL, now with an Achilles. So just terrible. You feel for Klay, you feel for the Golden State franchise as well. But after everyone saying, including me, everyone was saying, hey, the Warriors are back. This is going to be the team to beat next year. After all of that being thrown out there, their second player goes down, and now we hear the exact opposite. It seems like we hear, sell all your stock on the Warriors. Klay Thompson's contract, which I agree is not looking very good right now, but still, everyone's saying it's the worst contract in basketball. They now have the 2 worst contracts in all of basketball: the Wiggins and the Klay Thompson. I've heard that. We've heard, sell all your stock. The dynasty is over. They have no shot at winning in the future. Blah 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 blah. Okay. We have heard all of that. All of your perspective has been noted. And yes, I do want to say Klay is huge for the Golden State Warriors. His value has definitely been underappreciated throughout the entire dynasty run. He has been nothing but a true professional throughout the entire thing and has played phenomenal basketball. So Klay deserves tons of credit for all the success that the Warriors have had. But I'm here to tell you, despite him going down and him missing consecutive seasons, I do not think the dynasty is over. I'm here to say it isn't over, for a matter of fact, okay? They are being led. Have you forgotten? They are being led by the 2-time MVP in Steph Curry, who has gotten, I should remind you, a year of rest after 5 straight NBA Finals appearances. He just got an entire year of rest. I can't wait to see what that does for him. Expect a possible 3rd MVP being added to Steph's mantle after the expected season. Again, the season I am expecting for him to have I was thinking, Luka was going to be my favorite for MVP, but after Klay going down, Steph, his workload is definitely going to increase, going to be very high, and I got nothing but confidence in him to lead this roster and go on an MVP caliber tear next year. I am banking on that. I have nothing but confidence on that if he can stay healthy. And again, I'm expecting that maybe adding a third MVP to the mantle. Nothing but confidence in him to do that. Also, I think he needs to be averaging around the 30-point per game mark. 6 or 7 assists is going to be needed. Also expect he's gotten even better over the years in getting teammates involved. With him taking, again, having the larger workload, he's going to have to average over 30 points, around 30 points, 6 or 7 assists as well. Maybe even having another 50, 40, 90 season, 50% from the floor, 40% from the 3, 90 from the free throw line. We'll see. The volume of shots is going to be higher than usual, so we'll see if the volume affects his percentage, but maybe predicting a 50, 40, 90, over 30 points, 6 or 7 assists, and an MVP caliber season for Steph Curry. That is exactly what I am predicting, and that is exactly what the Golden State Warriors need if they want the dynasty to, in fact, not be over. Also, let's not go ahead and discuss an act like Steph has a bunch of scrubs playing with him, like he has last year's team playing with him all year. But that is not exactly the case here. Don't forget he still has all-star Draymond Green. Yes, he is no longer the same player as he was back in 2015. Yes, no longer that player, but he can still go out there and average 12, 13 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. That is exactly what Golden State needs. I expect him to do exactly that. He can average 12, 7, and 7. He hears all the talk. He knows he has to be better. Expect that. He has to have better conditioning. I think he's lost a little bit of his first step, his quick step. If he can get that step back, which is hard to do. I know it's a lot of conditioning. When you get older, it's even harder and harder to do. Sometimes you just lose that step. But if he can get that step back, that's the only thing I think he's lost, his motor a little bit. If he can get a little bit of that motor back, that's exactly what Golden State needs. They need 12, 7, and 7, and a higher motor defensively from the former All-Star in Draymond Green. Andrew Wiggins, yes, okay. Quick drink, but no matter how or what you think on Andrew Wiggins, yes, he is overpaid. We don't have to dispute that or argue that his contract is more than what he does deserve. Okay, there's no doubt in that, but he is still a 20-point-a-night scorer, and we saw it as soon as he went to Golden State. The defensive stats increased. He also has defensive potential. Okay, a 20-point-a-night scorer over the last 3 or 4 years now was asked to be the number 1 option in Minnesota, was going to be the 3rd or 4th option in Golden State, now is going to have to be the 2nd or 3rd guy in comparison to the 3rd or 4th. So yes, he will have to step up. He has taken a step up as far as, notches on the roster. So he will have to play a little bit better stepping into that role, but he's a 20-point-a-night scorer, has defensive potential. Don't act like Andrew Wiggins can't play basketball. And then the number 2 pick in this year's NBA draft, James Wiseman. Okay, he was the best player coming out of high school in his class, was rated the number 1 player in the class. Also, obviously, the best center in the draft class. We know Golden State needed size. They needed a center. They got exactly that in James Wiseman, the number 2 pick in the draft. He's over 7 feet tall. He's a rim protector. Warriors are also saying they're hoping and thinking and seeing him developing his outside jumper. So perhaps they see him, he compared himself to perhaps a Kevin Garnett style of player where he can get blocks, be tough defensively, and then still knock down a jumper when he needs to. That's exactly what Golden State would need. If he can step in and be a Kevin Garnett-esque player that would be phenomenal for Golden State. He is going to have to mature sooner rather than later, that he was going to have to do that no matter what, since this team is a win-now roster, is not going to have the time to develop his game and be the player he has to be in 5 years. No, he has to be that player in 1 or 2 years. He needs to develop right now, help that team win right now. So I think Golden State has what they need in a center in James Wiseman. He's going to have to play. He's going to have to mature sooner rather than later. But again, was the best player coming out of his class, the best center in the class overall. Is there over 7 foot tall rim protector developing his outside jump shot. So don't forget about this number 2 overall pick in James Wiseman. Also, they just traded. We'll see how big his impact is right away. But the Warriors have also just traded for Kelly Oubre Jr. Okay, Kelly Oubre Jr., yes, not an all-star caliber player by any means, but still a very good player, having a larger role these past 2 years in Phoenix. For the Suns, he's had a larger role, and he's averaged 17 points and 5 rebounds, and then this past year, 18 points and 6 rebounds. In both seasons, he's averaged about a steal and a half per game. So he's a two-way player. Okay, so he cares about the defensive side, can get a steal or so per game, and then he can go out there and get you 17 and 18 points per night. Last year averaged about 34% from the three-point line, 35%, so can spread the floor, can somewhat create his own shot as well. So I love the addition of Kelly Oubre Jr. Klay goes down, you implement a scorer right away. Also, don't forget about the first-team All-Rookie who they drafted last year, Eric Pascal. Over this past year, averaged 14 points, 4.5 rebounds, almost 50% from the floor in his rookie year. Hoping for a gradual increase of play from the rookie to the sophomore year. So hoping for a gradual increase of play for Eric Pascal. Oh shoot, I just went over my 30-minute mark, guys. I'm going to take a quick break. Coming back, we'll finish discussing Golden State and then move on to this year's NBA free agency. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the Gsmc MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, guys, welcome back. Like I said before the break, let's continue on discussing the Golden State Warriors. After the Klay Thompson injury, there's been a whole lot of slack, of dissing going on for the Warriors. I'm here to say the dynasty is not over, okay? As far as what Golden State has, yes, Klay going down definitely hurts their chances at winning a championship, if not it erases the chance at winning a championship. But the dynasty is not over, and let's not act like Steph Curry has a whole bunch of scrubs around him and a bunch of guys who can't play basketball. He's still got the all-star, former all-star in Draymond Green. He still has Andrew Wiggins, a 20-point-a-night scorer with defensive potential. They just drafted the number 2 overall pick, the best center in the draft, in James Wiseman, the best player coming out of high school in his class. 7-foot rim protector, developing an outside jump shot. They also have, don't forget about the first team All-Rookie, the guy I was just discussing before the break, in Eric Pascal last year. 14 points, 4.5 rebounds. They gotta have an increased, level of play from last year to this year. He's got to stay around the 14 to 15 points. That's going to be tough because Steph's going to be taking shots away. Wiggins is going to be taking shots. Oubre is going to be taking shots away. So it's going to be tougher, but he's going to have to stay around that stat line, around the 14, 15, if not 16 point a night if Golden State wants to still compete and be the team that I think they can be. They need a gradual increase in play from Eric Paschall, the first team All-Rookie last year. They also added to back up Steph Curry, Brad Wanamaker. If you aren't sure, who Brad Wanamaker is, he spent some time in Boston last year, did a very good job backing up Kemba Walker, a very capable player, very good in his role, can knock down an open jump shots, also a versatile defender, can guard the one, can also at times guard the two. So a versatile defender, can knock down open jump shots, not necessarily going to go out there and create for himself, create for others, but a very good player in his role, can thrive in the role that you put him in, knock down open jump shots, play some good quality defense. So overall, they also just added a player in Kent Bazemore. Okay, so overall, yes, clearly, they aren't as good if they had Klay. Okay, if they had Klay, yes, they're much better. And if he was healthy, like I said before, the Warriors would be my pick probably to win the title next year. That's how high I am on Steph Curry. That's how high I am on Klay Thompson, on Draymond Green, on this Warrior core that they have put together, on Steve Kerr. That's how high I am on this team, when fully healthy. So clearly they aren't as good as if Klay was healthy, because the ceiling, if Klay was healthy, is championship, obviously. So yes, now without him, their championship hopes pretty much disappear. They're pretty much gone. I'm not going to sit here and say they can still win the title next year. Steph's going to average 35, 40 points and Oubre is going to get 25. No. Wiggins, no. I'm not going to say all that, because that's not going to happen. But they're going to be a very good team next year. They're going to be maybe the 5th seed in the Western Conference. That's probably where I'll put them at, around the 5th seed. And probably not going to win a championship next year, but depending on the first round matchups, could very well win a first round matchup in the first round of the postseason, make it to the second round, and then who knows, in the NBA playoffs, injuries happen, matchups, all that, who knows. Golden State could very well be in the Western Conference finals next year. But overall, this, like I said, will be a playoff team. Again, the playoff success, postseason success, does depend on the matchups they get. But, talking about the rosters, comparing rosters right now, okay, when I talk about these teams, tell me who you like better than Golden State. Utah. Okay, Utah Jazz. Yes, I really like Donovan Mitchell. I really liked what I saw. We saw multiple 50-point performances from him in the NBA playoffs in the first round. However, they blow the 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets. This is still a good team, but if I'm putting Steph Curry and the Warriors up against this team, I'm still taking, even without Klay Thompson, I'm still taking the Warriors over the Utah Jazz. I'm still taking the Warriors over the Portland Trail Blazers. It gets very interesting without Klay. Can Dame outshine, Steph, and can CJ really play at the level he needs to? And with all the additions that the Portland Trail Blazers have made, it's interesting for Portland. But as of right now, what I've seen from their matchups in the past, I'm still putting the Warriors over Utah, over Portland, over the Memphis Grizzlies, which is a very young team, but over Memphis, over Oklahoma City, which is clearly rebooting and sending all of their pieces away for draft picks, probably over Phoenix as well. We'll have to see for the Phoenix Suns with Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton. The ceiling on that team, it is a little bit higher, I should say, than the Warriors right now without Klay Thompson. With Klay, it's not even a question, but without Klay Thompson, it's kind of a toss-up. Right now, I'm still leaning with Steph, with Golden State over the young team in Phoenix, but they're adding pieces, the Suns are, and it's tough for me to put the Warriors over Phoenix, but still, I'm taking them over Utah, over Memphis, over OKC, over Portland, probably, over Phoenix, probably. So there's a lot of teams I like Golden State better than And again, I don't think the value of Steph Curry is being respected. He's a 2-time MVP. Even I should remind you all, even with a healthy Kevin Durant, a healthy Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, all three of those players in their primes, Steph Curry was still able to take a step back and average 25, 26 points per game, 5-6 rebounds, 5-6 assists, and be the best point guard in the league. So he was able to do all of that with a healthy, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, taking shots away from him as well. He was still able to do 25, 26, 5, and 5, 6, and 6. So and very impressive, percentages as well. Not like he was shooting low volumes as well. No, very high percentages. So he was able to do that with those players around him. I don't think the value of Steph is being respected enough. But now he will have even more of a workload. He will be even more of the focal point of the offense here. We will really be seeing, can he be the main point? He's been the main player, obviously, but now without Klay Thompson, without his splash brother, without Kevin Durant, now the workload will be higher than ever for Steph Curry. So now I am very interested to see. I have nothing but confidence in him, his level of play, to step up, lead this team, average around 30 points per game, 6-7 assists, maybe even be around the 50, 40, 90 percentage and be in the MVP conversation. We heard Steve Kerr say last year, as soon as Klay went down, when we thought it was kind of going to be the whole Steph and then a whole bunch of guys all year, I think the team they have constructed now is better than what they had last year, no doubt. But we heard Kerr say it last year. We're not going to do the whole Houston Rocket thing with James Harden, be ball-centric, simply put the ball in Steph Curry's hand and say, hey, go to work and win the game for us. He said, we're not going to be the Houston Rockets and James Harden. Steve Kerr said that last year. Not sure if that's a shot at James Harden and the Rockets, or just saying everyone knows they're an ISO, an ISO-centric playmaking team. Shoots a lot of three-pointers, we know, but the Golden State Warriors moves the ball, a lot of ball movement on that roster, as far as the game plan goes. So we said we're not going to change. We're going to continue to move the ball. Again, Steph is looking, in my opinion, with Klay going down, the workload he's going to have, he is looking like a preseason favorite for that NBA MVP award. We know Luka, I think he's going to, make Steph run for his money, make Steph run for his money. KD coming back as well. He could have a comeback season for the ages. Could see him being in the MVP conversation. Giannis as well. We know how dominant he is. If he takes a step up, if he gets even better next year, who knows? And maybe if he develops that outside jumper, we've been saying that for a long time. If he just develops the jumper, if he just develops the jumper, I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. But if we see him take a jump next year, who knows? He could be in the conversation as well. Anthony Davis as well, who knows? So Steph is going to have competition for the MVP award, but as of right now, with the workload he's going to have, the team he has constructed around him, he is my preseason favorite for that MVP award. He's going to have to play that way for Golden State to reach their potential, to reach their ceiling over the next year, to make the postseason, to make it out of the first round. Steph is going to have an MVP caliber season. And again, like I said earlier, I have nothing but confidence in him to do that. The value of Steph has been undervalued, under-respected, not respected enough, underappreciated, I should say. And again, since they really don't have, since they aren't really having championship expectations, really, there are now other things for Golden State to do over this next season, okay? Other things for them to accomplish over this next season now. It's not just, Klay went down, let's just try to make the postseason, and that's it. No, there are things for them to do, mid-season or season goals for them to accomplish, I should say. Starting out with the whole young talent thing. They have Wiseman, they have Eric Pascal. It should be for those two young players, since we're not really winning a championship, get those two players in a larger role. Let's develop them sooner rather than later. Let them know, hey, as soon as Klay comes back, it's all hands on deck, and we're trying to win a championship right away again. He's the only piece we are missing. So they should know that they need to be, told we are trying to win sooner rather than later. We are developing right now. So you develop young players like Wiseman and Pascal, get them in a little bit of a larger role than they would have been, and again, try to see what the ceiling is, for those two young players. Also, for a player like Draymond Green, this is a big player for Draymond, with the contract that he does in fact have. We know it's been a decreased level of play we've been seeing for him. It's a telling year for Draymond. Do the Warriors keep him? Is he going to go back to the old Draymond, or is it time to move on? Is that why they had Wiseman, for the center power forward role? Are they somewhat saying they're going to be moving on from Draymond Green? Either way, a very telling year, a big year, a testing year for Draymond Green, no doubt. A quick break, guys. When I come back, we'll finish up discussing the Golden State Warriors and start breaking down what I've seen so far in this year's NBA free agency. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back for my final segment of the week, of the show, not of the week. I still have another podcast coming out later on, but still, like I said, let's wrap up discussing the Golden State Warriors now. Like I said before the break, a very telling year it is for Draymond Green. The lack of production for him, the big contract associated with his name. A very telling year, a testing year for him. Is it time for Golden State to move on? Is that why we saw them take the route they did with Eric Pascal, with James Wiseman as well? So perhaps it's time to move on from Draymond Green. This next year, I think, will be the tell of the tale. Also, one more thing they're kind of looking out for next season is, they somewhat could decide here. They brought in Kelly Oubre Jr., Wiggins, both kind of similar players. I think Wiggins has a higher ceiling, but kind of similar players Wiggins and Oubre Jr. are. So they can also kind of see who's a better fit for this team with Steph, with Draymond, perhaps with Wiseman. Who fits better? Oubre, Wiggins. Who's a better fit in the locker room with the players? Who's a better player? Who's putting up better numbers overall? So it is also a somewhat of a deciding year. Who do you like better, Wiggins or Oubre? Can you keep both of them going forward? So lots of things to discuss, lots of things to look at going over the next year. Looking at the next year for Golden State, you got to develop Wiseman and Pascal. You got to somewhat decide on, take a look at and look at, decipher between Wiggins or Oubre Jr. Who is the better fit? Also, like I said, a very telling year for Draymond Green, his production level and such. So very, a lot to look at, a lot to discuss, a lot to break down and digest kind of for this Golden State Warrior team. What other names, other questions coming for this team? What other names are coming for the Warriors? What other moves are coming for the Warriors? They are trying to achieve and get about a $9.5 million exception for salary for going out and signing players because Klay was injured. He's going to miss the next season. They can do an injured player thing, right? So they can get like $9.5 million to sign some free agents because Klay is going to be out all year and he takes up such a big amount of the big amount of the cap space. So they're working on getting about $9.5-10 million extra for free agents. They're rumored to be interested in JJ Redick. I think that move would be very good. He's a starting caliber shooting guard, can come in and average 15 points right away, 16 points right away, just catching and shooting, very similar to what Klay does, but you're not getting the defense of Klay. Also, Boogie Cousins, DeMarcus Cousins, also rumored to be making a return to the Golden State Warriors, perhaps backing up the rookie in James Wiseman if he can be healthy. Boogie maybe 15 or maybe 20 minutes per night coming off the bench. If he's open to that role at a minimum deal, maybe Cousins coming back to Golden State. They also added Kent Bazemore for depth at the wing position. So Golden State, addressing a lot of things that they need to, checking off a lot of the boxes, but ultimately, the hole of Klay Thompson, not sure if that hole can be filled. We know the championship hopes have pretty much been erased, but I'm here to say the dynasty is not over for Golden State. They can very well compete for championships in the coming years. This year, similar to last year, not a rebuilding year, but you still have lots of questions on the roster. Draymond, Wiseman, and Pascal, Wiggins and Oubre Jr., you still have Steph. So you look at those things throughout the regular season. You revisit the whole Klay Draymond thing at the end of the year after what you've done, and hopefully you're in position next year to compete for championships. We'll see what Klay is like coming back from injury. We'll see what this roster does over the next year. However, in my opinion, I don't think the dynasty is over quite yet. Let's transition now, to my final segment of the show, NBA free agency. We have seen so much happen since free agency opened up on Friday. Players like Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Fred VanVleet, all three of those players have signed multi-year extensions to stay with their team. Tatum and Mitchell both signed like $195 million contracts for 4 or 5 years. VanVleet signed like an $80 or $90 million for 4 years, I believe. So all three players got paid, but however, I think more players, different from those three, I think more players were on the move in this year's free agency. We saw the biggest name, I think, moving is a guy like Gordon Hayward, leaving Boston, opting out of his contract for a 4-year, $140 million contract with the Charlotte Hornets. I really like this move by Charlotte. They get an all-star caliber player with their young playmaking point guard in LaMelo right away. They clear up cap space by waiving Nick Batum. I like this move a whole lot by the Hornets. They're getting relevant. They're getting better and better. And heck, we might even be seeing some Charlotte Hornets games on national televised TV this year. That is because of LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward. So I really like both of those additions by the Charlotte Hornets. One of the biggest surprises though has got to be Hayward opting out with Boston, going to a lesser competing team in Charlotte. So kind of surprising. However, I really like the move for Charlotte. You're continuing to get better, making a push for the postseason. We'll see how many years it takes. I'm betting it's sooner rather than later. We see the Hornets getting better, and better. So I really like the Hornets adding Gordon Hayward. Bogdanović, we thought he was going to Milwaukee. However, now it's looking like he is heading to Atlanta, has signed an offer sheet for about 4 years, $70 million. So we'll see if Sacramento matches it. Either way, it looks like he was getting shopped by them. More than likely, they won't match it, and he'll be on his way to Atlanta. So Bogdanović getting out of Milwaukee, getting out of that trade, going to Atlanta for more money. I really like that move for him and for Atlanta as well. Atlanta continues to make moves, and pushes for that postseason. Joe Harris is staying in Brooklyn on a 4-year deal. Love that for him. He got a payday. He got paid. Brooklyn also has a sharp shooter locked up, a guy for KD, Kyrie to kick kick out to at the three-point line and a consistent guy to count on. So I really like the move by Brooklyn to extend Joe Harris. Another really good move by the Hawks. They got Bogdan Bogdanović more than likely, also adding and signing Danilo Gallinari. Okay, Gallinari also going to Atlanta on a 3-year deal. A great addition by the Hawks. He can score 20 points a night, a very capable defender, and over the last couple of years, he has been on two teams that have both overachieved. One, OKC Thunder last year, one, the Los Angeles Clippers a couple of years ago. He was a big part of both of those teams. Now, perhaps he can go to the Atlanta Hawks, do the exact same of what he did in OKC, in LA, give them about 20 points per night, be a capable defender, help them overachieve. The Hawks are making a big push to make the postseason. I really like what Atlanta is doing in this year's off-season and free agency. The Heat, another team getting better. Okay, not enough, but they're getting better and doing what they need to. They're keeping their guy in Goran Dragic around. He signs a 2-year deal, so he's staying around in Miami. The Heat also steal Avery Bradley away from Los Angeles. He's a very good two-way player, a great fit in Miami, can knock down an open jump shot, can go and defend on the other side as well, so he fits perfect in Miami. Miami continues to improve, however, they still need more. Bradley Beal, Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's going to take a player like that, an all-star caliber player, to get Miami over the hump. Avery, not a player that will do that, but still a very good addition to this Miami Heat team. And after the Lakers steal away the sixth man of the year from the Los Angeles Clippers. So the Lakers steal away Harrell from the Clippers, and the Clippers, they re-sign Marcus Morris. That they traded a first-round pick for him last year to the Knicks. They re-sign Marcus Morris to a 4-year deal. They also go out and sign Serge Ibaka to a 2-year deal, pairing up again. We saw Kawhi and Serge win a championship in Toronto again. They're back together in Los Angeles. So I really like the move. I think Serge is a great fit, can go and defend at a high level, knock down open jump shots, can spread the floor at the three-point line, his size as well. So I really like the move of Serge Ibaka. He's played and won with Kawhi before. However, I still think the Lakers have overtaken the Clippers as far as overall quality of roster. They now have two capable six men. They now have two guys averaging over 18 points coming off of their bench, which the Clippers had last year. Now the Lakers have that with Schroeder and Harrell. They also have Marc Gasol adding to the roster, Wesley Matthews added to the roster. So I'm giving the edge to the Lakers still, but still adding Serge Ibaka, a very good move by the Clippers, staying relevant and getting a very good piece that fits very well. Portland, another team that has been making moves. They re-signed Carmelo Anthony. They signed Derek Jones Jr. They re-signed Rodney Hood. They signed Harry Giles to a 1-year minimum deal. So they've been making moves. They also traded for Robert Covington. So they made a lot of moves. I think all of these will help Portland win now. Covington addresses the need of defense. Also at the wing position, can knock down an open jump shot. Carmelo, obviously we know the scoring Carmelo brings. Derek Jones can also be a two-way player, is explosive on the fast break. Rodney Hood was injured last year. Hopefully can come back and be healthy. Harry Giles, I think it's Giles, a very young player, has upside on both sides of the floor. So I like all of these moves by Portland. All of them are going to help them win. As far as Boston goes, yes, they lost Gordon Hayward. A very big player. We'll see how big his value was in Boston. But they did sign Tristan Thompson, a center they did need. So they signed Tristan Thompson, and then they signed a backup point guard in Jeff Teague. So Jeff Teague, Tristan Thompson, both of those are very good additions to the team. But overall, we know with this Boston Celtic team, it's going to come down to that big three. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, and then obviously they have Marcus Smart after that. But it's going to come down to those three, that big three, to lead and win. Okay, so I like the moves by Boston. They lost a big player in Hayward, added some pieces they need in Jeff Teague and Tristan Thompson. We'll see if that's enough for Boston to get it done. Also, some more notable moves before I end the show today. Some notable moves. Dwight Howard is heading to the Philadelphia 76ers to back up Joel Embiid. DJ Augustin is headed to Milwaukee for a point guard, maybe a starting role, maybe a backup role, probably a starting role. See if Drew Holiday goes to the point guard position or if he stays at the shooting guard. Really kind of depends on that. But DJ Augustin goes to Milwaukee. Jay Crowder goes to Phoenix. I really like that move from the Suns, adding a veteran two-way player in Jay Crowder. Aaron Baines is going to Toronto to try and replace Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. Going to be hard to do that, but he can shoot from the outside. As a center. Jeremy Grant is headed to Detroit. The Nuggets let him slip between their fingers. I think a mistake by them. Christian Wood is going to Houston. The Pistons let him slip, but they signed Plumlee, Okafor, and Jeremy Grant. So Detroit has been pretty busy in this year's free agency. Christian Wood goes to Houston. We're simply, the biggest decision we're kind of waiting on right now is Anthony Davis and Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram, we're expecting him to be in a New Orleans Pelican when all things are said and done. We'll see. I think a team like Sacramento should make a big push for him. I would love to see him go elsewhere, but I think he will end up in New Orleans. Same thing with Anthony Davis. I think more than likely he will end up in Los Angeles. This has been a very entertaining free agency so far. And then, like I said, there still are players out there like Anthony Davis, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Korver still out there. Thon Maker's a center. There's other players I'm missing, but there are players out there and available. So we'll see who goes where. We'll see if the Lakers continue to add, what the Warriors continue to add, what happens with the whole James Harden, Russell Westbrook situation in Houston. So all of these rumors, all of these stories coming out in the NBA, don't think they will be simply coming to a close now that free agency has gotten kind of over the hump. We kind of have all the big signings over. Don't think that news will not continue to be released. I think even more will be coming out as we get closer and closer to the start of training camps, to the start of preseason, and the start of the regular season on December 22nd. So I expect more things to come forward. That's going to be it for today's podcast today. Thank you all for your continued support. Go check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, like our page, leave us a comment or a review on whatever platform you are listening on. Again, that's going to be it for this week. This is my first podcast of the week, so I'll see you guys again on Thursday. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.